Working up here in Sundown Bay, back shoreline. We haven't been in here in a little bit, so we had a lot of extra water in our system this past week. So we decided to get up here and work this back shoreline here and see what's going on. And we have found some fish that are hanging out in some of these areas. So that's always a good thing. But all we did, we just worked the back bay mouths, we worked down the shoreline. So this particular area, when you have enough water in there, it's really most of the time it can be pretty productive. This last past week, we had some couple of good days in this particular area, all the way down on the backside of the islands that go up against the ICW. But all that was, lots of bait that's in here. Bait migration is probably not too terribly far away from starting to happen. But there's just a ton of bait that's stacked in here, and those fish are in and around that stuff. We got a big moon that's in play right now, so that kind of factored into our decision making on some stuff. The bite wasn't just super, super great as far as consistency goes, but you knew there were fish there just based on the signs and everything that was happening with as far as the structures there, the bait that's there, smaller profile baits, and we'd pull a fish out here and there. So we knew they were there, and we knew we were going to have to be patient with them and just take our time, especially with the big moon. But we did, and we had some pretty productive days this past week. So the main things that we were throwing is the burner shad in the original size of the down south lure, the knock and tail lure, the little johns. We were throwing those, from some top water bait from time to time, the double D. And that's been pretty much the consensus the past couple of weeks. That same profile size and amount. As far as the size, color-wise, there's been a pretty much a consistent pattern with that. It's been white ice and bone diamond. Bone diamond's been very productive for us in the watermelon red and the Little John, golden red glitter in the Little John's been pretty good. Double D and just a variety of different flavors. Not one particular one stood out more than the other. It's more the profile than anything. The top water bait, throwing a Spook Junior, getting a reasonable amount of blow-ups and takes off of that. And then in the down south, the burner shad size through the Twisted Tea, again, the bone diamond, white ice, they were good for us as far as throwing those particular flavors. The knock and tail, the heavy metal and greenback were doing well for us. So there's just a variety of different flavors. Main thing is just the profile size. We had the transition moon, now we're in the big moon. So we've been downsizing and staying with that smaller size for a little bit now, probably for somewhere around 8 to 10 days, and that's been the most productive for us. We've sprinkled in some of the supermodel size and the big smooth, some of the bigger stuff in the Coastal Brew baits, a couple of other baits that we've thrown as well in the bigger size, but it just was not as consistent and as productive as what the original size or the 4-inch to 3-inch size bait. That size really kind of set us apart from the other things, and that's typical during the big moon or that transition moon. Those fish are predominantly night feeding, so they are coming off night feed, so they're not just super hungry in the mornings like that. So you just want to give them something a little bit smaller that they're more enticed to want to eat that. So anyway, that was our pattern. That's what we stuck with, and it worked pretty well for us as far as consistency goes. Water levels are up, and that's coming off of the hurricane that passed through into Louisiana here a few days back. We're still getting a little remnants as far as the water level goes. With that, it's still kind of hanging with us, so it's allowed us to fish differently. But at some point, that water will drop back out, and we'll get back to our lower tides that we've had prior to that. Anyhow, but cloud cover's been good. It's been a few days. It's been hot. Water temps in the mid to upper 80s again. So those fish are they're pretty active for the most part. You have your windows that you really have to watch and take care of. Again, majors and minors are what our main things that we focused on during those time frames to really give us our best opportunity. Like I say, bait is stacked in some of these places. So you should be able to really go to work, take your time, be patient, and you'll pull out some fish. Down in Spalding, These back lakes that are back in here, they were here I think a couple of weeks ago. We reported on this particular area, but we kind of incorporated the fingers of Carlos into here. You know, there's still fish hanging over shell in that particular area. We got back in here and fishing all those bars and everything in those fingers. You know, there's some fish that are hanging in the guts. Nothing great, but just kind of consistent bite there. Got some smaller stuff, a lot of small trout that were hanging out in that area. We get on the inside here on this Carlos, on this backside. We like to come down here, fish this little bar that's right in there. It's been pretty productive for us as well. It's, again, mostly trout that are on there. Some small undersized redfish were hanging on it. Then we get to Cedar Dugout and worked all this shell that was back around there, both inside and the outside. So if you haven't worked in that area before, as far as the wading aspect of it, it's pretty muddy back in there. So, you know, typically that's not an area that you really want to pinpoint when you got warmer weather, because that water's really, really warm back in there. But as we have found, redfish are not really too worried about that so much. But again, with the extra water that we've had in here, so it kind of opened up some fishing for us on the inside bar of that, because you got a nice little drop that's in there that comes all the way back around to the mouth of Cedar, and that's what ties into the third chain of islands. But we've spent some time all in this particular area in working these particular areas and just taking our time with it. Like I say, we're in that transition moon headed to the full moon. We're in that full moon here in the next day or so. So that will be an important thing to make sure that you factor into your day. Your early morning bite, as far as wading goes, will be pretty good. Your late evening bite will be pretty good as that moon rises and the moon sets in the mornings. That's what our strategy is. That's what we do during that big moon time frame. So we really don't spend very much time in the middle of the day, you know, late morning. So like 11 to 12-ish or even later than that, you know, just time frame wise, you get to say 11 to 4 o'clock. That time frame for throwing artificials in a big moon phase is just very difficult. Can you catch some fish during that time frame? Sure. But do you really want to scratch and work that hard to try to find them during that time frame, or do you want to just kind of fixate on the moon set and the moon rise? So those are the areas that we work, or time frames that we have been working in, and it produces for us. It's pretty consistent. Is it great every time? No. So we will see how this next week progresses, and we will work all these different areas here. Again, with the back lake being up, we're getting back here in Sherman's, getting some of those areas there and see what we can locate, both inside and outside shorelines with that. On the outside here, all the way down to Jaybird, to this point here, some of these little back lakes that drop off into that have come into play. And then, of course, you got the outside shoreline. You got plenty of grass in here, and you got a lot of different little back lake mouths that dump out into that. So there's giving us different opportunities. It's just giving us different areas that we've pulled a fish out here, there. Now, has any one of them produced great numbers of fish? No. So we've had to spend some time really working it. We may pull out anywhere from 1 to 5 fish in a particular given area, and then that's about it. And then we just move on down the line. So again, main things we've been throwing have been the down south original size, the down south burner shad in the same flavors from earlier. Bone dime has been very good for us, and that will probably be one of the staples that we throw here for the next several weeks is bone diamond. White ice has been good. Twisted Tea's been good. Big Papa's been good. Those flavors like that really blend with this water. You know, it's a little bit stained, so it really stands out in there for them. It gives them that contrast that those fish really like. Little John's, Watermelon Red's been pretty good for redfish, so it's been all right. Then the Knock and Tail, again, the greenback and the heavy metal have been the most productive for us. Some of the Rogue has been okay, but the other two flavors have been the best. Again, sprinkled in some topwater action from time to time, have some fun with that. And then the Double D has been pretty good for us. So all those types of baits like that, profile size, colors, you just match the color to what you got in the water clarity in that point right there. So that just kind of takes you with that. We're still working the 16th ounce jig head, so we're taking our time with it. Again, it's not been a super aggressive bite over the last couple of weeks. I anticipate it being the same during this big moon phase. So that's where the patience has to come into you. You have to really know that you understand that you found some fish that are there. Just keep chunking, keep working them until they're ready to eat for you. Back here in St. Charles, again, A lot of extra water in our system, so it kind of opens up different areas for it, kind of pushes some fish around, and you just kind of have to pay attention to what's going on. So we fish across from the boat ramp, this far shoreline there, Bird Point, East Pocket sometimes. Then we get back up there to Egg Point, back around all the way back around to Boy Scout Camp Shoreline, all that back in there. Little Devil Bayou, Big Devil Bayou, Big and Little Sharp, the all that Cow Chip Bayou, all this in there. This area back here, Cavasso, just in assorted different areas for us. Not fishing them all in the same day, but just kind of bouncing around, just kind of seeing how our wind sets up and see where we're going to be on a particular shoreline on that particular day, whatever it is. The wind hasn't been super bad at all. Mornings have been pretty light for the most part. Then it pick up a little bit in the afternoon. But our primary focus time frame wise has been from daybreak till about 11, 12 o'clock. And then we're calling it a day at that point in time. With, again, big moon's going to be in play here for the next few days. So it's going to be important for you for your planning of your day. I guess I mentioned earlier, you are going to want to really focus on that moon set and the moon rise. Sometimes we will do this. I will do this with people as we'll do a full day trip, and then we'll do a moon set for about 3 hours, and then we'll get off the water and come back and get the moon rise for about 3 to 4 hours and see how that goes. And that's sometimes that has worked out and been productive for us. So just something to consider if you're going to be in and around during that time frame. We can even come around here, work this hard packed shoreline here off the edge all the way back down to where all the oyster bars and the shell reefs and stuff that are back in there off that Big Tree Turn, just back down in that area. And there's a nice little grass flat shoreline that's there that's got an edge on it all the way back down toward the Hunt Club. We've worked all this area in here before, and it's been good. Periodically, like I say, we got a ton of bait that's working in our system right now. And so once you find the right structure and you get on that, what's got the bait line that's in there, that's the kind of stuff that you really want to focus on. Some days we'll just get in there and just particularly throw one kind of bait. Maybe a topwater bait, maybe a small profile bait, maybe a bigger profile bait, and just stick with it, whether we catch anything or not, just to see what's going on, see what's happening. Just kind of little indicators for us. So, like I say, when you work all these types of areas like in here, and like I say, St. Charles offers a lot of different things for you, a lot of things that go on there. Cavasso Creek and that west shoreline's been pretty good from at different points in times during the week. So, like I say, you just have to really kind of pay attention to what's happening, find your bait, build the right kind of structure, and then let the patience game really take over. Because, like I say, it hadn't been a super aggressive bite at all. So we really had to take our time with that and just try a few different things. If you got extra people that are with you, everybody put something on a little bit different and just go to town and go to work with it. Like I say, majors and minors, big major thing for us to really work during the big moon phase. Really focused on that. And again, I can't tell you enough about the patience aspect of it during this time frame. Like I say, got a lot of different things weather pattern wise that are happening for us. So always keep an eye on that as you plan your week. And as always, anytime that you're going to get to go fish, always be safe as you're out there.